This is the Green Street Podcast, episode 2, and today I'm here with the very talented pianist, singer-songwriter, and artist Belle Hampton. So Belle has been living in New York City for this summer. She studies at Princeton in her spare time, one could say. And she has been playing lots of gigs, working on recording some music, and we wanted to sit down with her and share what's going on with her with all of you guys out there.
Yeah. Thanks for interviewing me.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right off the bat, I think it would be very interesting to hear where you get most of your inspiration from for your songwriting.
So I think that in the past, a lot of my inspiration would come from just trying to process maybe some of the more negative or heavy feelings that come with being alive,
Definitely.
I'm sure that's where a lot of artists start. But I also think more recently I felt a little bit more in touch with my creativity and where I get my inspiration from, and it feels less necessary to just be focusing on all the bad feelings or bad things that are happening, and more so I honestly just feel like being in touch and in tune with the world around me and how it's making me feel. That's where a lot of the inspiration comes from. It feels like I can't really lock myself in a white room and expect myself to write anything that's meaningful. I have to be out, interacting with the world and kind of seeing what is sticking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I think it's a cool thing to remind ourselves is that, our art can certainly reflect our pain, but it doesn't always have to. And if things are going any type of different way, whether it's good or bad or somewhere in between, that's something that is a part of our experience and something we can share through our art.
Because I know there's the belief that you have to be suffering, to be making any sort of music or art that's meaningful. But I think I've really been thinking about that, and I just don't think it's true. I think creativity is so much more than just feeling one certain way.
There's a lot of very successful artists out there who are having a great time,
yeah.
who love their life. So yeah, it's a great thing to kind of realize and keep experimenting with. So what is your creative process like, and how do you approach songwriting and your creativity? What kind of goes into the nitty-gritty of that process?
Yes, it's definitely an evolving thing. I think in the past, I would just kind of improvise on piano, come up with some sort of chord progression I like, and then add lyrics to it later on. But over the past few years, maybe 2 or so years, especially as my life has become a little bit more busy and it feels harder to just sit down at the piano for 3 hours and improvise things, unfortunately. I think that it doesn't always start at the piano and it doesn't always end with lyrics. It can look a lot of different ways, where sometimes I'll just be walking and an idea will pop into my head, whether it's just about a certain concept or a melody, and I'll already be thinking about the form of the song, kind of from the start, and less so about the chords. And just the form and also the groove that's going to happen at certain places and the instrumentation. So I think that right now when I'm thinking about songs, I'm thinking about a lot more than just piano and vocals. But I think that has also started to, be more of my process just because I'm playing with bands more often, and I kind of, my ears are being opened up more to how different instrumentation and different types of orchestration can really bring your song to life in different ways too.
It sounds like in a way that kind of ties into the first question a little bit too, as you're expanding your communication of what's going on in your life through your art, you're also expanding your style of writing. So rather than just you and a piano, kind of in this contained space that's focused on certain emotions or communicating a certain thing, it's starting to broaden out into more instruments and more ideas coming alive from everyday experiences. That's very cool. Yeah, I think there's a parallel there.
I think we're having this conversation at a pretty formative time for me too. It's my first summer in New York. I'm really feeling a bit more in touch with kind of the world around me, and not feeling I'm feeling there's a lot more, diversity and just people and art just around me able to, influence what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's a great thing to broaden your horizons like that. And how has your summer here in New York been so far? What are some things that you feel you've learned? Some experiences that you've had. And you've been doing an internship while you've been here as well, correct?
Yes, I've been interning for the Environmental Defense Fund. So
Wow.
I know, right? It's been fun, which it does mean that like my hours between like 9 to 5 have been like less music focused, but then in the evenings I really just like kind of do as much as I possibly can.
The mythology of Belle Hampton,
Yes.
very much the musician by night.
Office worker by day. I don't know. For now.
For now.
I think that in a lot of ways, being here has made the world feel a lot bigger to me. For the most part, it's been a good thing, because, yeah, I think that I'm just, like, able to see what it looks like when people who are really taking music seriously, like, where it can lead them, you know, and I think that there's more, you know, there's acts passing through the city all the time, and there's people that are based here, too. And I think that it's kind of easier to, like, find role models, you know, that are actually, like, doing what you want to be doing and you can actually talk to, as opposed to just, like, looking at their, you know, social media or their website or something.
Yeah.
I think I've also learned a lot of, like, small details about live performances. Like, yeah, I think that I'm definitely, like, kind of a songwriter first and, like, a performer second, but I'm trying to get better at the performing part of it. Yeah, I think there's just, like, so many small things about how somebody carries themselves on stage and how the whole band is interacting and how you're interacting with the crowd or how you're reading the room. It's just like a tiny little spice that you can, like, little things you can do that you can sprinkle in your performance, but it can just leave the people who are watching feel so different.
Yeah, it's an intricate science for sure,
Definitely.
and it's interesting to walk away from shows that you see as an observer and try to put your finger on what it may be that they did in particular that kind of like brought out, you know, your interest and your response to what they were doing, and try to emulate that in what you're doing as well. Yeah, it takes a lot of trial and error and a lot of experience.
Definitely.
But yeah, I mean, if there's a place to get that experience in, New York is the place. There's so many opportunities to get out and gig.
I think also, like, I've been realizing that as much as possible, having the rotation, that the musicians you're playing with be consistent,
definitely a big factor.
Help, because there's one thing where you put a bunch of people in a room who have never played together and you're like, here's my music, it's super notated so we can just blast through all the songs. There is that, but then, you know, your chemistry is just never going to be as good on stage if you're comparing it to, you know, a group of musicians that you've been gigging with for a long time and you know each other and
definitely
conversing, and it's because there's just making it through the song. And then there's, like, really, like, bringing it to life and kind of having a musical conversation with people on stage.
100%,
And I think that, you know, I've done a lot of getting through the song, and I'm realizing, like, how much further there is to go in terms of just, like, really being able to, you know, listen to each other and play with each other on stage. Yeah,
there's so much, like, nonverbal communication that happens during music performances, and I think the more tuned in you are with your bandmates, just as people, as well as musicians, the more you can sort of like communicate a lot with like just a look, or you know, take creative liberties sometimes with, you know, moments in the song, really like make it an exciting exchange with one another. I think that takes a lot of time, a lot of rehearsal, and a lot of like just kind of personal good vibes with the group that you're playing with.
Also, like, it's so different than social media too. I've also been kind of realizing that the world of an actual geeky musician and playing live and the world of what you see on their social media, it's so different, and actually being able to play live and give people a good experience is a much different skill set than being able to curate how you look on your feed.
Yeah. There's a lot of unseen work that goes into it, and I think we as musicians like to showcase the best moment of the night, which is the on stage performing the song. But, you know, there's so much schlepping gear around and, you know, practicing with musicians in advance and coordinating people's schedules, you know, finding long hours of rehearsal, finding a rehearsal space. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing to, like, you know, dive into that world and kind of realize how much more goes into it than just those brief moments that you see on Instagram, on YouTube. Over this summer, you've been recording some of your songs to finally get them down in that tangible format and out to the world. How has that process been going?
I think all things considered, it's been going pretty well. You know, just like live performance, when you record music, there's a million little details that you have to consider. I'm also really jumping into it like in a serious way where I'm trying to get recordings that I love that sound exactly how I want them to sound.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it for the first time, which means, you know, you're figuring out who you like to work with, where you like to work, what is like economically viable in terms of like how the project should go. And just, you know, like, oh, like, I think I actually like the sound of this microphone better than this microphone. Or like, oh, like, I think that I actually want to work with this musician instead of this musician to record this part. And there's just so many things where I'm sure every project is like this, but, you know, like, doing it for the first time is really just throwing yourself in and working with a ton of people and in a bunch of different spaces and just seeing what sticks and what feels good. Because I think the music I'm trying to create is like really drawn to just like real instruments and recording the real thing and really not trying to emulate very much with, you know, what software
Synthetics.
Can do these days.
Yeah.
But that does mean that it's harder to just sit in your bedroom and, you know,
certainly
edit away at things.
Can be a lot of like trade-off of knowing that you really want to capture the live sound of an instrument, but then, as we've been talking about, then is all the long list of things that you have to do to actually get a musician in a room that plays that instrument, that's learned the part, you know, have the recording, the microphone set up, you know, how you'd like, get it recorded, compensate this musician for their time. It's a whole process, but I think that's something that in the long run is going to really make you feel positive about the art and like happy with how you went ahead and did it. When is your release date that you're hoping for your EP?
Right now I'm hoping that the EP will have 5 tracks. I have parts, like some sort of recorded part for every single one of those songs, whether it's still just drums or drums and piano, or like I also have maybe a violin or something. Like, it's not everything. It's a lot of half-finished things and things that still should be edited, or just, you know, there's a lot of stuff floating around. But I'm hoping to have things moving towards the mixing and the mastering by December.
Nice.
I'm hoping that everything is recorded and edited how I want by the end of the year, and sometime at the beginning of 2026 it can
be released.
Yeah. Yes.
Awesome. Well, we will be stoked over here on the Finn Green channel to help you promote it and get it out to the world. And I personally am going to be listening to it ad nauseum because I have been a fan of your music for a long time, and having it finally in my headphones at any time I so choose is going to be a really awesome thing. So a lot of people are going to be very stoked for that release when it finally comes along. And we're all rooting for you. December, you got this. Yeah.
Yes. There's also a semester of college that has to happen during the same time.
Oh, college
but it's
knowledge.
It's fine.
Oh, that little tiny inconvenience.
Whatever. I think as long as you learn the material and you do what you have to do to get by.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Hey, C's get degrees. Do they still get degrees at Princeton?
No, I think they still do.
Wow, how about that? Huh.
Sweet. I think that is still how it works.
Yeah. Awesome. So, next question is, why are you doing this? What is your vision for this music career? What is the future of Belle Hampton as an entity, as an artist?
This is something I've been thinking about a lot. And I think that I've had some experiences growing up where music has really helped me and changed the way that I see the world, or how I view a certain experience. And when I say this, I mean the music of other people. Like, I mean my music too, like making my own music, but also just listening to music of artists that I admire has just like really just like blown my mind and made me, you know, kind of just feel like it kind of altered my perspective on things a little bit.
You're speaking my language.
Yeah. And I've realized that I kind of have the ability to try to, not even to try, like I have the ability to write music, and I want to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I also think that like live performance is such a big part of that, And I think that, you know, it can just be such an uplifting thing for people to all come together for a show and, you know, collectively share, you know, that experience. And it's just something that I want to create for other people. I want to create musical communities. I want to create communities of people who play music together, who listen to the music that I'm making. Just because I think it's so important to be bringing people together. Music is the language of us all. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a lyric
Yes.
of
Beautifully said. Oh.
it's a song lyric actually of this band called the Cat Empire,
Oh,
which is
nice.
like kind of niche, but they're like
Yeah.
I'm kind of obsessed with them and kind of the giant like collective of musicians they seem to have, and
Nice.
they just jam out on stage.
Sweet. I feel like as fans of music, we aren't just kind of buying into an artist as this like singular force. We're sort of becoming a part of their world.
Yeah.
And, you know, the other people that engage in their music, or the musicians that they play with, or the like, you know, things that they surround themselves with, be it like, you know, a personal hobby of theirs or like a cause that they're really passionate about, that's a huge part of what we're also engaging with in their music. And I think that's such a beautiful thing when you're not just like experiencing an artist for their creation in a vacuum. You're experiencing what the music means to you and to many others. And really experiencing what it meant to the artist as well. And as the music is shared, whatever it meant to them just adds more and more and more meaning as it begins to mean things to other people.
It's a cultural thing. You need people on all ends of it. Like, you need people, like, I mean, you can make your room, you can you can make your music alone in your room and have nobody else helping you, and then you can play to a room of nobody. But like, I think that people on both ends of the creation of it and the listening of it.
And I would say really too that they want to make you think that that's how it's happened for a couple artists. It's not really how it went. Like, even if they sort of come across as they just made some genius work in their bedroom, they also had a network of friends and connections, and they went out and played live, and they like had opportunities presented to them that like helped them to cultivate what we're talking about. It never happens kind of just in a vacuum. I mean, the internet makes it possible for people to really gain a lot of popularity without, you know, initially doing these things, but eventually they have to do these things regardless if they want to kind of like continue to flesh out their career and what they are as a performer and an artist. Cool.
I think also something I'm realizing is that I want my music to like align with a certain set of values, and I think that often even if people don't explicitly say it, that's kind of what music by certain artists does. But I think that I'm realizing like I want my music to turn into something where it's like danceable and fun, and I kind of want like the themes of just like freedom and creating the life that works for you to kind of run through all of the music. And I think the stuff I'm writing now is more aligned with that than the stuff that I'll be releasing.
It's very exciting.
But like I think that should like I want it to just be like I want it to be fun, and I want it to bring people together and make them feel free and not bound by its systems or outlooks that sometimes I feel like can kind of just like hold people back.
Definitely. I think there's kind of a beautiful line that a lot of musicians, great artists walk, which is that they, as you're saying, they have a set of values that comes across in their music that you align with. But it's not like dogmatic, and it's not reducing you to a certain thing. It's like helping you to recognize yourself and feel happy about who you are, and then sort of let go of the constraints. And it's hard to do that. I think sometimes it can really teeter on the edge, and an artist's certain value system can kind of go a little bit too far into them sort of saying, this is how things should be, this is the right way, this is my way. But I think that sounds like a great intention to have, and that is always what it comes back to is just the, you know, how does the music sound and how do people engage with it? Can you just dance and boogie and enjoy the music and not be too wrapped up in like the ethos and the value system that it's coming from?
Yeah, but also not all music has to be danceable either.
True.
That's just one way for you to really get your music across, is to get people like dancing to it. It can
Yeah.
also just be like so emotional that people just want to like sit down and listen to it, you know?
True. Yeah.
Which is, I think, a line I'm walking to, because I think sometimes some of my music is like a little deep, and people like kind of are like, well, I don't want to dance to that. I just kind of want to.
You're like, well, I was
Listen.
getting down and I was boogieing, but now I have to sob for I'll keep dancing, but I'm going through some shit right now.
Yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful thing. That's like,
Yeah.
people talk about how, you know, it's kind of like a masterful thing to make a song that like sounds happy and upbeat, but is like tackling some more difficult topics. There's like a lot of iconic songs out there that are like that.
I love songs like that.
Yeah.
I think my favorite sad songs are the ones that sound happy. You know?
Yeah.
Just because it, like, I feel like there's an element of just like kind of like sweetness, but also just like hits you, so, like it's just almost like it's punching you.
Yeah.
Because
I think it's like a reflection of how even in many other aspects of life too, we kind of push through our pain to create. Like whether it's, you know, you're having a bad day at work, but you kind of suck it up and you push through to make it happen and, you know, like continue on. I think that sometimes comes across when an artist is really like expressing their pain, but like still creating music that is engaging and fun and sounds really nice. And I think that's kind of like, it's great because they can express what they're going through, but it also still comes out as enjoyable music that's like really entertaining and engaging.
It's almost like saying like, yes, like, you know, sometimes life is hard and there are things that happen that are painful, and like that's okay, and we keep going, and we write songs about it too.
We soldier on.
Yeah.
What is your vision as a creative in general, and how do you want music to fit into that life of the creative self that you would like to be?
I mean, I'm sure that for a lot of people, it's kind of a struggle to figure out exactly the role that creativity should play in your life and how far you want to take it, or how far you almost like need to take it to feel like good about your life and what you're doing. I think that something I have been realizing is that like I can't really compromise music. It's whenever there have been times when for whatever reason there haven't really felt like there are the spaces for me to create what I want to create, or the time to do it, I've kind of just felt kind of bad about myself. Not bad about like myself, but just kind of like bad about how my life is going and just not super happy. Yeah.
You need that space.
Yeah, I think it's
like a requirement.
I'm realizing that it's really important to me. And, you know, in the future, I'm realizing like I can't compromise, and I won't, because I want to feel like I'm living how I want to live, and how maybe certain qualities of myself are like meant to live and meant to be expressed.
Yeah.
And like right now I am also pursuing an engineering degree, but I think at the same time this summer has taught me in some ways, just based off of things I've been able to see and things I've been able to learn, and you know, whether it's seeing a studio set up or seeing a recording engineer, or just, you know, I'm realizing that electrical engineering, and this is like probably very obvious to some people who have already like, you know, maybe are like more involved in the creation of music on an everyday basis, but I think it can give me another level of creative freedom too, where it's like if I truly understand the equipment that's being used to create something or record it, that you can kind of make a bunch of smaller decisions. You know, you can make a bunch of very small decisions that in the end will like massively affect the outcome of how the music sounds. Yeah, and I'm realizing that as much as it's a difficult degree sometimes, it could actually really help me.
Yeah.
Also economically too, because I don't think it's always right to approach creativity like from the same place as wanting to make money. Like I think that like if you're viewing like a project as like a payout, like I don't think that's really the best way to approach it. And also it's so hard to assign like real monetary value to somebody's art when it's like literally like their soul. Like I feel like you're like literally like assigning monetary value to like a person basically.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I think that's very wise and very balanced to kind of realize that cultivating this marketable degree and marketable skill that also does pertain to parts of the world of creating music as well, and the engineering gear side of things. Yeah, knowing that that can possibly lead to a stable job that would leave you with more financial wiggle room and more stability to
Yeah.
invest in your projects without worrying too much about the recoupment of it, and really just like making things the way you
Yeah.
want them to come out. And I think that is a really great perspective to have, and a great plan for setting yourself up for success, really, because I think that this music creation life definitely takes a lot of investment,
Especially
and
at the start too.
especially at the start. And
Yeah.
the more you have the ability to invest in yourself and your creativity, and just make things to make them rather than making them with the worry of earning the money back, I think that's how you really like get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
And
I think it's also how you really like sound like yourself too.
yeah,
You know, like I mean, I think that there's like a line between just like throwing money at your music and expecting that to make it good. Like, you know, if you like don't actually have like a good arrangement or like a good thing that you're recording, like you can use a $5,000 microphone, it won't do anything.
absolute fact. Yes, absolutely true. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, for sure. Yeah. um yeah, no, it's definitely like, yeah, everything is
It's
so specific to a person and how their life path is meant to be. And
yeah.
sometimes people record iconic music on an iPhone, and sometimes they record great music in a multi-million dollar Hollywood studio,
Yeah.
and it just goes all across the spectrum. Some people do
Yeah.
both. Some people
Yeah.
did the iPhone album, and that's what blew them up, and then they get to make songs in a $2 million studio, and maybe some of the iPhone
Yeah.
songs they like more than the ones they made in the expensive studio, and vice versa.
It's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all kind of like a wild
Yeah.
swirling universe.
I think it's kind of just navigating the line between where the money you're putting in will actually make the outcome better, and where any extra money is not really going to do very much to the product, or it might just make you sound a little too polished. Because sometimes I feel like you go back to like the artists when they were starting out, and maybe the production wasn't quite as good, or they you can tell that they hadn't quite found their voice yet, as like some of their like later stuff, or maybe they like broke out, I guess, or something really gained traction. But you realize like that really like sounds like them.
It does bring out a certain authenticity in the sound, I think, to have like limitations, because then your limitations become what people know you for. And yeah, like it's certainly a thing, I think, that bands or artists will kind of define their sound while they're still kind of constrained by finances and by like resources. And yeah, often I think bands and artists kind of struggle to, it's like the sophomore slump, as people call it, when you put out your second album that you've had at sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in by a record label. And it's just so different. It's so different to have this massive amount of money, and to make your music in a new way. And
because I think it's almost like what I was saying before about how like right now I'm learning who I like to work with, and just the general process for the musicians I'm working with and the microphones I'm using, etc. I feel like it's kind of the same thing, where it's suddenly you have massive amounts of money being thrown at your project. You have to kind of relearn all of that again. Figure out what your process is like in a new space, maybe a more highly funded space, but it's still a new place where you have to figure out how your creativity
how it translates.
Intertwines.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we've had a lovely time getting to know Belle Hampton today in the second episode of the Green Street podcast. She's got so much going on, so follow her on Instagram at Belle Hampton Music. That's Belle, Hampton like the Hamptons. And the same on YouTube. So Belle Hampton Music on Instagram and YouTube for everything going on in this very talented musician's life. And have a great day out there. This has been the Green Street Podcast, episode 2. Peace and love.
all right, where's my intern with my latte?